It's not going to be too long before we start thinking about putting his onion sets out. We just need to wait till it's just a little bit warmer, and of course we always start them off in advance, which we'll cover in another video. But I also this year want to grow some from seed, because the red onion sets never seem to work out. So I've got a pack of red Brunswick onion seeds, and we're going to pop some into these small cells. It only takes up a small amount of space, but this one seed tray can hold 72 plants. So we're going to do a few of those today, get them started, because onions need a long growing season, and if you're starting them from seed rather than a set, that's going to make that even longer. So we need to get them in as soon as possible. Traditionally you'd do this on Boxing Day, but with the weather being so horrendous, I've left it a little bit later, but we do still have time. And for something different this year, we've also got some Paris Silver Skin. So they're your little pickling onions. And we've not tried these before, but we do like to preserve as much produce as we can at the end of the season. So if these work out the way we want them to, we can get some jars of little sweet pickled onions. So I'll get these trays filled and we'll get on. So as always, it's a quick fill, compact it down and then fill again. And this compost has been sieved. Because we're using such small cells, we need to make sure we've got a fine medium. We don't want these cells having large pieces of stone in them. So I'll just go along, having filled it, and just press each cell down with my thumb. And then top it back off. And we've now got as much compost in there as possible. So now we can sow the seeds. But just before we do that, just making a shallow indentation in every cell. And onion seeds are really small, so we don't want to make these too deep. So now we can pop some seeds in. And we all know how tiny onion seeds are. But these seeds are from a place called Premier Seeds that you can find on eBay, and you can get 1,000 seeds for about £1. So for these reds, I'm going to pop in about 3 seeds per cell, because the onions will quite happily grow together as a bunch. So we can multi-sow them, but the main reason I'm doing this is because we need this to get started as soon as possible. So we don't want to be putting seeds in and having any failures, because then we're going to have to start all over again and we're wasting time. So I always put 2 to 3 seeds in each cell, and hopefully this year we'll actually get some red onions. We've not done very well at all for the last couple of years, but they were sets, hence the reason why we're doing this now. Even if I drop 4 in here, it doesn't matter, they'll still grow perfectly happy together, just like when we multi-sow beetroot. And I'm going to do 2 of these trays. So that's going to be potentially a lot of red onions that we can plant out quite soon. But we won't be doing that until spring. Quick and easy, that's one lot almost done. We just now need to cover them very lightly. And if you've watched this channel in the past, you'll know that I always use a colander, so I can get a very fine dusting of compost over the top of the seeds. Because once they do germinate, they're going to be able to break that surface a lot easier and quicker. And with things like onions, that's what we need. So we'll get these all covered up and labelled as well. Since this year we are growing different varieties of the same vegetables, so it's important, especially with onions, to label them, because all onions, from bulbing onions to spring onions, look exactly the same. So they've had a really light covering, and then I'm just going to go over the top just to smooth it all off and make sure every single cell is covered. And that's one tray done. And then just repeat that process for his pickling onions. And just like we did before, we're going to put 2 or 3 seeds in each cell, just to guarantee that we get something rather than nothing. And again, that very light covering of compost. Just same as before, smoothing all cells over to make sure everything is properly covered. And that's another set done. And what we'll do with these onions is we'll take them indoors, because they're going to be very slow to germinate in these cold temperatures, which is obviously going to slow his process down. So we'll take them indoors where it's a bit warmer, give them a bit of a watering, and probably put some cling film over the tops of those cells, because that will then retain moisture until these seeds have germinated. And meanwhile, the temperature is going to get warmer, the days are starting to get lighter. And that's something we've all been waiting for what seems such a long time. And by the time these onions are a few inches tall, it will be then time to plant them out, or in your containers if you're doing container gardening, and we'll be doing a little bit of both this year. And we've got quite a few different varieties of things we're going to try growing this year. Some will be going in raised beds outside, some in the greenhouses in the ground, and then others in containers. So if you're interested in seeing what we are going to be growing all through the season, please hit that subscribe button, press that notifications bell, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.